Good morning. Welcome to the Saturday stream. It is Saturday, January 17th. How's it going? My name is Angela. I am a front-end developer and software engineer in St. Paul, Minnesota. And on this channel, we practice HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I'm basically a vanilla channel. I prefer to practice the basics. Not really a conspiracy. Don't read into it. Not anti-framework or library. I just enjoy practicing the basics. So that's what we do here, because even though I know that frameworks and libraries, so Tailwind, Foundation, Bootstrap, React, Angular, Vue, just to name a few, I know those things are important. I know you need to know those things in order to get a job. I think that you also need to know a little vanilla. Here's the thing. I understand if you have no interest. Maybe this channel isn't for you. If you do have an interest, and I hope you do, I think that this is a cool place for you to hang out on the weekends. Actually, we're Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday now. I'm streaming 4 days a week starting in 2024. And I'm really enjoying the new schedule. I'm enjoying being up and at 'em 4 days a week instead of 2 days a week. It's helping me personally get up and stream an extra 2 days a week. So there's that. Anyways, how's it going? How's everybody doing? If you would like to have your messages read out loud to the class, go ahead and put them in the chat. I tend to read every single message. And I love answering your questions. I also, listen, if you want to call me out for something, you are wondering why I'm doing something, you think I'm doing it wrong, you think I should do it different, no problem. You don't like my position on libraries, frameworks, you don't like my position on AI, go ahead and call me out. I'm here for it. Just don't be mean to me personally. If you're mean to me personally, I give you the boot and I don't even think twice about it. So there's that. Who is here with us today? Rahul is here. Hello. Rahul is in Nepal. Welcome. Go Elmo is here, formerly Go Elmo Go. Currently Malik Robinson. Malik calls this my TED Talk hoodie. I have my TED Talk hoodie on today. It is cold and snowy in St. Paul, Minnesota. This is the dreariest time of year where everything is just gray and gross and dirty and crusty. And I just want to feel cozy and warm. That's all I care about. Monique Robinson is here, reminding everyone to please like and subscribe. Liking the video helps the algorithm. It helps push it out to more people who might enjoy this type of content. Subscribe if you're not already. Would love to continue growing this channel. For years, so I've been a front-end developer for about 12 and a half years. I have had a running dialogue in my head every time I sit down to work, and I at this point have spent thousands of hours of my life learning to be good at this. That's the other thing. People may not realize, especially if you're a newer developer, if you are really confused or don't understand why I don't use things like Tailwind or Bootstrap, please understand that I started to learn front-end development before any of those things ever existed. I was learning vanilla when all there was vanilla. And I enjoy it. I think I'm good at it. I'm still learning new things every day. I genuinely enjoy vanilla. That's why I do it. Now, if I had a job, I don't have a W-2 job in the sense anymore. I'm self-employed. I freelance, I contract. I'm a content creator. If I had a freelancing gig or a contracting gig and they were like, we use Tailwind or we use Bootstrap, or if you build something, I would really like to make sure that you're doing it with Tailwind. No problem. No problem. But can I please tell you that for every new project I've started, I have never been asked to use a framework. I've had the opposite experience. I've had people say to me, oh, wow, you don't need a framework? That's great. We don't think that this project is big enough for a framework. So if you can do it with vanilla, that's great. I've had the opposite experience. Certainly, I've worked on projects with frameworks. I've never worked on a Tailwind project, but I've worked on lots of Foundation and Bootstrap projects, but I've never built one from scratch. So I can only tell you what my own experience is, and that's it. And I've still managed to have a really awesome career as a front-end developer for the last 12 and a half years. So Maz Khan is here. Welcome. Good morning. Good morning to you as well. I'm so happy that you're here. We are happy to have you. So I think that today is going to be sort of design focused. I think this weekend is going to be design focused. Not every front-end developer has a desire to be good at design. I totally understand that. I do have a desire to always improve my design skills. I don't like calling myself a designer, but I think if I'm being honest, I think I'm maybe possibly a better than average designer than I give myself credit for. So if you have a desire to be better at design, I think I hope this will be an interesting weekend for you. I think today we are going to spend the majority of our time in Affinity Photo, which is a Photoshop competitor, because I sort of gave up on Adobe about a year and a half ago. Affinity Photo is a good Photoshop competitor alternative. Right now it's free. At the time when I started using it, it was paid, so it's changed a little bit in the last year and a half, but it's still a really good product. But before we get into that, let's just take a look at some other examples of online menus, because that's what we're doing. Oh, I don't even have our project pulled up. So we're working on, if you're new here, you may want to know what it is that I'm even talking about. If you're returning, you already know what I'm talking about. This is a design that I built back in 2014 when I had my first job as a developer. I was living in San Diego, California. I was still trying to figure out what my own aesthetic was, my own design aesthetic. This is much different from anything I would design today. I think my aesthetic today is pretty minimal. This is not minimal, but I still really, really like it. And I came across this a couple of weeks ago and I was like, yeah, I definitely want to build this. All I had designed was a home page, but I decided that I wanted to build out inner pages. So this week we built a contact form. We did this on Thursday. And I have a couple of the things I would like to do to this page, but for the most part, I am loving this. We went through the entire process of building an accessible semantic contact form. We hooked it up to a third-party form app called FormSpree, which I really like. I've been using them for a little over a year. I don't even pay for FormSpree. I'm on the free version, which I think is 50 emails a month. I mean, I don't get 50 emails on any of my websites in a year, so it's perfect for me. There are some things that you don't get with the free version. You don't get a custom redirect, but I feel like I came up with a good solution for that. I don't know. I just need an endpoint. I just need an endpoint that sends data from point A to point B. That's all I care about. FormSpree does that in the easiest way possible. They're also really good at filtering out spam. So if you want to practice forms, I highly recommend this, because here's the other thing, and I mentioned this week. I really do not like dealing with email servers or just getting a website to send email, and that's kind of a holdover from my WordPress days and dealing with a lot of GoDaddy websites, WordPress websites on shared hosting, GoDaddy in particular. It's such a pain in the ass. So to just have a simple third-party solution with an endpoint that just sends your emails from point A to point B, chef's kiss, beautiful. I love it. FormSpree does that for me, but I think there's lots of services. So anywho, this is the form that we built. We tested it on desktop, we tested it on mobile, and I think it looks great. So we today are going to start working on a menu page, and these inner pages are a little bit goofy. We haven't styled the inner pages yet, so we're going to also sort of dial in a beginning layout for inner pages. And then we're going to take a look at different examples of online menus, and I found 2 examples that are wildly different. So it sort of occurred to me this week that an example of an online menu has lots of pictures, but also that could be because those websites aren't just online menus, they're also e-commerce, right? So they're very product focused. So I pulled up Caribou Coffee, and I know that Caribou is like Starbucks. I think it's a national chain at this point, but I'm not really sure. Caribou is headquartered in Minnesota. Caribou and Starbucks, there's like a Caribou and a Starbucks on every corner in Minnesota. And they are obviously very e-commerce focused because you can order online and go pick it up in the store, which I've done many times. It's very nice. But this is not what I was thinking when I was thinking about an online menu for our little coffee shop site. Because this site is not an e-commerce site. There's no, I'm not even building the UI to support online ordering. I'm just trying to make a website for a coffee shop that wants to communicate to their audience what their offerings are. That's all that I'm doing. Here's what I was thinking in terms of a menu. So this is the Uptowner Cafe on Grand Avenue in St. Paul. And let me see here. Let me see here. They had a line here that I thought was so good. Oh, right, it's right here. We serve the best breakfast in St. Paul. It's true. They do. They serve the best breakfast in St. Paul. I've been to the Uptowner many times. It's the epitome of a hole-in-the-wall dive diner, and it is literally one of my favorite places that I've ever been to ever. I love it. But this is the type of menu that I was thinking of when I was thinking about building an online menu. But this week, people were like, actually, you should have pictures. I would expect to see pictures. Yeah. So let's see if we can do a little bit of work today in Affinity Photo that combines the slick aesthetic of a nice photo with the down-to-earth menu of a non-e-commerce coffee shop bakery. I don't have any content for our little project, so we're just going to be using like lorem ipsum and things like that. We're just trying to dial in a layout at this point, but this is what I was thinking. It's going to lean heavily this way, but I think it would be not a, oh, look at, they have, these are links. What's happening? What's happening? Why do I have a pointer? Okay, pointer. Why is this, this is interesting. What's going on here? Oh, look at all of these importance. Is there like cursor? Oh, okay. DM restaurant menu category cursor pointer. Why is there a cursor pointer here? That's weird. Angela, it doesn't matter. Just, it doesn't matter. So, I don't want to, I don't want to be rude to the Uptowner because I love them. I genuinely love them, but also probably it's okay to like point out things that don't seem quite right. I don't know. I don't know why there's a cursor pointer here if you can't actually click on it. It seems like a UI issue, but okay. So our menu is going to be something like this. It is going to be, I think a menu should be text heavy, should have more text or more descriptive content than this, especially if it's not e-commerce. Don't you want the SEO value of a good description to describe what's really going on? And also, isn't that good for accessibility to describe what's going on? Okay, so if you were using a screen reader and you landed on this page and you're like the Denver Breakfast Bowl, you are forced to click into this. Also, every time I click into anything on the products, Caribou is forcing me to figure out what the location is, even though I said not to, so I have to dismiss that. Okay, so we have a small description here. View nutrition and allergens. Okay. I don't know. I feel like, doesn't this seem a little cozier? I don't know. I just prefer this look and feel. So that's what we're going to lean into. And Maz Khan is saying, please make one project with only HTML and CSS. Yes, I've done many projects with only HTML and CSS. Malik has shared the link to my GitHub repository. Lots and lots of projects in there with HTML and CSS. I also have a huge library of content on my channel with, all of my live streams for the last year and a half are pretty much vanilla HTML, CSS, and a little bit of JavaScript. So, and Rahul says, did you also find a local business site online and offer them to upgrade it when you were freelancing? No, I honestly I never approached businesses. I thought about it. I wasn't brave enough to approach businesses and ask them if I could go in and do a redesign for them. But here's the thing. I also got to a point where I was busy enough where I didn't have to go out and look for work. After so it took me several attempts at freelancing. It took me like 3 tries to freelance. And what I mean by 3 tries is like, so my first attempt at freelancing, I had never actually worked as a developer. I had a job scheduled to start after I moved from Minnesota to San Diego, but I never actually asked that person to pay a deposit. I just put them on the calendar, and I was really counting on that money when I moved to San Diego. And what do you think happened? That guy ghosted me. He literally, once I moved and the date was on the calendar and I got in touch with him to start his project, he ghosted me. I never heard from him again. And I didn't ask him for a deposit. So that was a disaster because now I was like running out of money. I thought this job that I was going to start working on obviously wasn't happening, and I was in a scramble to come up with a job. And I was so lucky, even though my first job as a developer was very difficult, I didn't like the owners of that company. I got that job in 2 weeks after I moved to California. I look back on that now and I think about what a miracle it was that happened, that I found that job so quickly. Even though it was low paying and I didn't enjoy it, I still learned a lot. I was a working developer and I was paying my rent. So after 10 months at that job, I quit again. And I attempted to start freelancing full time. And what happened? I feel like I got a couple of contract jobs. I got a small job and then I got another longer term contract job. That longer term contract job lasted 4 or 5 months. And then one day I went to go log in. It was a WordPress website. I went to go log into the site to do the work. And I was locked out. So I called the guy who hired me. He was like, oh yeah, I just got fired. So I got fired and that means the entire team is done. Like that was it. One day I woke up and that job just didn't exist anymore. And again, no contract, no nothing. I was just getting paid weekly. So then I had to go back to work again, and I was very lucky. I found another job again relatively quickly within a couple of weeks. It was so easy to get a job as a developer back then. It's honestly crazy. It's crazy how easy it was to find a job as a developer back then. So I went back to work again, and I was working I worked at this agency for like 90 days and then they fired me because I was a terrible fit. Maybe that's why it's not such a good thing that it's so easy to get a job. They fired me. So I tried again to freelance and I was like, but it happened so fast. I was like, no, Angela, you're not ready. You need to get another job. So I got another job very quickly. I worked there for a few months. And that was the job that I rage quit on a Friday afternoon. I mean, and by rage quit, I mean that I just like packed up my desk and never came back on Monday. I didn't really say anything to anybody. That's my version of rage quitting. And so what was that, like the third, maybe fourth time? Then I finally was like, okay, I don't want to work for these bullshit agencies anymore. I am tired of this. It's such a grind. This is just not what I want to do. But I was also appreciative of the experience that I was getting. And I did have a WordPress job. It was very modest, like maybe, I don't know, it was maybe like $1,000, $1,500, something like that. It was like enough to pay my rent. So I was working on that. And then I don't know what happened. Something happened, something changed, something clicked. I was putting ads on Craigslist and this company, I was living in San Diego, but I was putting ads on Craigslist in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul. And this guy he was like this engineer inventor and he had this project and he needed this redesign. He just called me and like hired me on the spot and I redid this website for him. It was a WordPress website. And in hindsight, I was severely underpricing myself. He was so happy with that site that he like paid me an extra $1,000 after I finished the site. And then as soon as I finished that site, another small business in Minnesota saw my Craigslist ad. That guy called me and hired me like on the spot. I got that site done in about, I don't know, 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks, something like that. Another WordPress redesign. This was a little bit bigger. And then I don't know how to explain it. Things just clicked. All of a sudden, I was just getting calls. I don't know if it was that I was doing a good job keeping up with my own personal website. Like I was constantly updating my own website. I was like rotating ads on Craigslist. It used to be free back then. I think it costs about $5 now, which is still really, really cheap. Craigslist was a magical place to find a job as a developer. I could both find jobs on Craigslist and I could advertise on Craigslist, and they both worked really, really well for me. I never had to pay for ads, ever, ever, ever. And after about 6 months after that third attempt, it was like things were just clicking. I mean, I was getting calls, I had jobs lined up, I had a calendar, but it was also a grind. I worked every day from the moment I woke up till the moment I went to bed. It was a grind. And after about 2.5 years, I was like, I don't think I can do this anymore. This is just, I had to make a decision after 2.5 years. It was either, I either was going to have to start hiring developers to help me and like actually grow a business, or I was going to have to figure out how to continue to do things myself and not burn myself out. And I that's when I decided to go get I was like, I think I have to be done now with this. This is just too much. It's too stressful. Even though I'm working constantly, I think I just have to like go get a job. I need health insurance. I need someone to pay my taxes for me. That's when I got the job at St. Thomas. So yeah, I never had to go approach people. I just had to kind of be in the right place at the right time. I did some really good work for a handful of small businesses in Minneapolis and St. Paul. And then the people who owned those businesses had big networks in the Twin Cities. And before I knew it, they were recommending me for work. And eventually people were just like, got to know who I was. But I also was like, I did things. I went on podcasts and I got a client that way. I would talk to people when I would go to the dog park. Like, do not underestimate the power of just existing in your community and talking to people. So I would take Heidi to the dog park every single day, and I would just talk to people at the dog park. And one day, this guy who I had been chatting with, he was like, "Well, what do you do for a living?" And I told him, and he was like, "Oh, I just like left my job and I want to do consulting and I'm retired, but I need a website." And he hired me, and he's been my client for 10 years. You got to just get out and talk to people. You just got to get out and like meet people and put yourself out there, and don't underestimate the power of just being active in your own community. I don't know what to tell you. That just worked for me. So Monique says the combinations page is in good. So I think you're telling me that you like you think it's good to have a combination. That being said, I like the images on the Caribou page. We'll go find some images from Unsplash, and we'll build a little, combinations page. Got it. Yeah. So we're going to like come up with a little blend. What are your thoughts on an image with hover? It would combine the two. Let's go back to menu. Why, Caribou? Why are you constantly putting this pop-up in my face? Yeah, we could definitely do some sort of hover effect. I mean, the image with hover. So here's the thing. We could definitely do a hover effect. We have to make sure that we're not changing the cursor. Let's see here. I did this on my own site. Something like this, right? So when you hover, we have to make sure we're not changing the cursor because we don't want people to think that you can click this. But I think it's still okay to do some sort of hover effect with the images, as long as we make sure that it's not, people don't think it's something that you click on, because there's no inner page. There's not going to be an inner page, right? So we could do something like a hover effect, but there's not going to be an inner page. There's just going to be a menu. Because it's not an e-commerce site, we don't need an inner page, right? Rahul says, it's good to hear an old struggle story. So are you going to full-time YouTube now? Well, I've technically been I mean, I feel like I am full-time on YouTube. Even though it may not seem like it to you guys. I am. I do have some freelancing and contracting, but I've been very selective in the freelancing and contracting that I've taken because I don't want that to take up all of my time. I'm also very fortunate that I made some good financial decisions while I was at St. Thomas. So financially, I'm in a position where I don't need to take a lot of freelancing and contracting right now, and I can put my time and effort into YouTube. Because YouTube is clearly not paying me anything right now. I'm not monetized. So there's that. So yeah, I am pretty much full time on YouTube for the most part, but I do have some small freelancing and contracting going on. So eggs and toast with a hover is what I mean. Yeah, we have to be careful with a hover because it doesn't link any place, and a hover effect tends to imply that it's linking to something. So I would be open to an image hover, but it has to be clear that it doesn't link to anything. So I think I am partial to this sort of hover effect on an image. But as for the words themselves, I wouldn't do any kind of hover because it doesn't link to anything. There's no inner page that this links to, if that makes sense. Yeah, no inner page needed. So love to share life stories with such experiences, but this is not the right place. Too public. Too public for you or too public for me. So I don't mind sharing. I don't share a lot about my private life online, but I don't mind sharing. I'm not sure who you're talking about, if you're talking about yourself or if you're talking about me. Everything I say is intentional, so I'm fine sharing what I share, but I can understand, yeah, if you don't like, if you're not comfortable sharing stuff online. So that makes sense to me. So Monique Robinson says we can skip the image then. We're gonna do a little bit of an image. Let's crack open. I have Affinity. I was making a thumbnail this morning. Let's close this. Let's get our PSD. Come on. Let's get our PSD in here. And let's make an inner page. There we go. Demonstrated perseverance. It feels like a different universe. If I look back on some of the decisions that I made, and I'm like, who was that? Who was that? Although I do have some things to say about just being, I don't know, risk or risk averse. Here's the thing. I'm single. It's just me and my dog Heidi. There isn't anybody relying on me, and I am a person who needs a little bit of risk. Not a lot, just a little. I get bored easily. I like safety and security. I like those things. But I just get bored so easily. And I do think that there is something to be said for quitting your job and trying to be self-employed and trying to do something on your own. It kind of teaches you who you are. Now, for some people, it might not be quitting a job. It might be traveling. I think traveling really, if I haven't done a lot of traveling. I've done a little bit of traveling, but I've done enough to know that it can really teach you about yourself. You like really learn about the kind of person you are when you are away from home and you're traveling and you're in a new place. And I think quitting your job to be self-employed or to do something different kind of has the same effect. And I've met people who have flat out said they will never do that. They will never quit their job. They don't like change. They don't like uncertainty. And I totally respect that. For me, I do like it. It can be stressful, but you really learn who you are. Like you really learn who you are in some of those situations. And here's the thing. If you're thinking about quitting your job or doing something a little crazy or changing careers, you're not doing anything wrong. You are not breaking a law, committing a crime. You're not doing anything wrong because you want to try something new or do something new or just take a risk. Those things are healthy. They teach you about yourself. They teach you perseverance. They teach you a little bit of hustle. They teach you kind of what you're made of. I like that feeling. I've been in lots of positions where I was like, oh shit, I'm not going to be able to pay my rent this month. What do I need to do to make this happen? That is extremely stressful in the moment and extremely satisfying once I figure out how to solve those problems. And I like that. I like a little bit of risk. Yeah, I don't know. That's just me. So I don't want to recommend that somebody like go take a chance or put their children's future at risk or like, I don't know. If you're thinking about doing something like that and you're not sure, I say do it. I don't know. I say do it. And Rahul is saying for me, he too public for you. Yeah, that's totally fair. That's totally fair. I don't share a ton of stuff online. I'm mostly pretty private, but I love sharing these types of things. I love talking about my own experiences because I do look back sometimes and I'm like, holy cow, who was that? Was that you? Really? You did that? So, yeah, and Malik made this point earlier this week too. I feel like if it's online shop pictures are selling the point, I can understand that. Because just the description doesn't really convey what is being sold. Learn new skills. I found one commit online from an 80-year-old man learning game dev. Wow. I mean, why not? Listen, my parents are in their 70s. They've got iPads, iPhones. My mom has a MacBook. I mean, doesn't matter how old you are. It just, do you have a desire to do it? That's all that really matters, in my opinion. So, okay, people probably actually want to see something design or development related. So, I want to do something really quick, which is I don't have this lobster font installed. So let's go ahead and install that so we can get those updated. I think we can get this from fonts, Google Fonts. I bet it's still right here. I think I have Open Sans. We'll just get lobster. I like talking about stuff like that. I enjoy it. I enjoy it. Okay, let's see here. And just like that, nice. Those got updated. Okay, so I think we need to save as our projects, coffee, designs. And then let's save this as the menu. And let's zoom out a little bit here. Make this page a little longer. So here's our background. All right. This is the part of Affinity that works a little bit different than Photoshop. I think I have to resize the canvas. Oh, so the canvas is 1920 by 1500. Okay. How do I make this? Okay. I can see you in there, so why are you? Document, is it the canvas or resize the document? Okay. Oh, stop. Why can't I ever figure out how to make this document bigger? It's not locked. What is this? Is that the canvas or the document? Resize canvas. Okay, that's not what I wanted. Sorry, you're going to have to watch me learn how to do it. Okay, undo the aspect ratio. Sweet Jesus. Okay, there we go. Finally. Okay. Here we go. And then here's our footer. Let's take our footer and move it down. There we go. Okay. This is the part that is a lot different from Photoshop that annoys me, is resizing the canvas. So, and then we have some grids. We'll keep that one there. We can get rid of this. I don't think we need all of these. All right. And then so that's 2580. So we want 2530. Maybe 20. 2580 minus 50 is 2530. Let's do 2480 for 100. So we'll just keep a little space there. What's that? That's 1080. So let's do 1180. There we go. And Rahul says, what about the design that looks exactly like the physical menu that they give in restaurant? I built one years prior where customers could scan a QR code and it would lead them to that menu. Yeah, I mean, if you can show me an example of that, I would love to see that. I am intentionally keeping this simple because here's what I'm thinking. I'm really thinking about the practical application of a small business who just needs a website, who just needs an online presence. They need something that is accessible and SEO friendly. So when people are like, hey, let's go stop at Coffee But No Tea, and they're like, sure, what's on the menu? So it's not an e-commerce site. They can't order online. Maybe they can call and order. I know there's DoorDash and there's Uber Eats and there's all these modern things. I totally understand that, but I'm just thinking of this project in terms of small business needs website. Let's make a nice, accessible, SEO friendly menu. It's not an e-commerce website. So also, well, I don't know. If you're a small business or if you're a restaurant or a bakery and you are available via DoorDash or Uber Eats, like what is the practical application of that? How does that data get into the Uber Eats or the DoorDash API? I have no idea. I don't even know what that is or what that partnership looks like, because you're placing your orders through the DoorDash app. And if the website, I mean, are you telling me that every mom and pop small business, restaurant, or bakery has a public API for DoorDash? I don't know what the applications are for that, and that's not what this project is really about, I guess. Yeah, let me know. I'd be happy to take a look at it. So, okay, here we go. So, where is our example? Right here. So let's just do, I like this 2 columns. I think they give everything numbers, so you can just say, I'll take the number 3, probably. Let's look at what's our homepage say? So our homepage says that we have cake, pie, brownies, cookies, donuts, cupcakes, and muffins. So let's make our menu focused on what our homepage actually says. So there are 7 categories. So maybe the first category could be cake. Yeah, so we have 7 categories. Where is our text? right here. So we'll start with cakes. That is obviously way too small. We'll go with 24 pixels. I'm going to make this lobster. And then let's change the color. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. About like that. And I think this is definitely too wide. So if we're at 1920 and we want to, if we're going to have two columns, we might want to go with our 1600 page width. So 1920 minus 1600 is 320 divided by 2. So we want 160 on each side here for our guides. And does it say? It doesn't say anywhere. I think that's about 160 right there. 20, 40, 60, 80. Yeah. And then 1920 minus 160 is 1760. So here's 17, 40, 20, 60. Right there. Okay. So let's make sure that we have columns that match what's happening here. Although it's not going to look like this, is it? Because this is the home page. But we can use this as a guide. So we'll do it right there. Here's some text. Go right there. Cakes. And then we'll start with what kind of cake? Chocolate cake. Chocolate. Go right about there. And this is Arial. Let's do Open Sans. I'm going to do this once and I'm just going to copy it for everything. So there's, let's go semi-bold. I think this needs to be bigger. Chocolate. Let's put in some lorem ipsum. There we go. And then I'm going to grab some lorem ipsum. And then let's tweak this a little bit. So we've got Open Sans, regular, and then let's increase the line height. So if we're at 24 pixels And we know that our line height multiple is 1.65. I'm going to say 24 times 1.65. So that means that this value, line height, or I think leading is what it would be referred to, is 39.6. So we'll say 39.6. Oh, need to do it for the whole thing. 39.6. There we go. So this would match the line height then on our web page. Let's do this. And I think we would want to pull this in a little bit so we could put a price, right? I think this still needs to be a lot bigger. And then we'll just put a price that's the same size as the title over here. How much does the piece of chocolate cake cost? $5? I think that we can just there we go, right, justify. So then these are the title and the price. So we'll group these, say title and price. This is the heading. And then this is the description. And then let's group these. And we'll just call this chocolate cake. And then let's pull this down a little bit, maybe right there. I feel like this maybe needs to be a little bit bigger. Let's make some copies. And then I'm going to take these, so that's on the top, middle. And I'm going to highlight each of these and just make sure that they're evenly spaced out. There we go. So this is what I was envisioning. Okay, where do we put the picture? Where do we put the picture? So and Main Isaac is here. Welcome. How's it going? Hello there. And Rahul says, I learned accessibility from your videos. Now I get to learn UI design as well. Well, here's my philosophy on UI design. I'm by no means an expert. However, if you have a desire to do it or be good at it, you will not be able to do it. You'll never be good at it if you're not actually doing it. So the best way to learn is to literally crack open a design tool and just get started. Look at other examples of things and just get started building things. That is the best way to learn. So where are we going to put this? Where are we going to put this picture? I kind of forgot about the picture, but I like this. I like this where we just have categories of things, and we're just going to use the categories that we put here for our snacks. So we could do, here's the cakes, and then we could do the pies over here, and then let's just build categories and groupings. So let's figure out where we're going to put this picture. You've sold me on the fact that we need a picture. So, and Monique is asking a very good question. Do you want to put the picture under cakes, or do you want to hover over chocolate and then have the picture appear? I think I want to put a nice little square thumbnail here. So let's do this. So let's just put a nice little square here. And then we'll make sure. I'm going to put this right on top of the description. Let's give this a different color. We'll just make it a little gray box. And then let's make sure that our description there we go. So let's delete these. Here's our description. I think technically this could extend underneath the price, right? Just like that. And then maybe these align. So we can either make sure that the text is always aligned at the top, or we can make sure that it's centered. And that might be a decision that we will wait to make when I kind of like that. We just have to make sure we have enough of a description to support a look like that. And then we have a nice little photo. There, what do we think of that? Then we can make sure everything has a photo. And so here's our title. So maybe this would be lemon. And then maybe this would be carrot cake. Oof, I love carrot cake. And then maybe this would be birthday cake. Whoops. Birthday cake. Yes. Okay, there's our cakes. This is good that we're doing this so I know what cakes to go look for. So we're going to have lemon cake, carrot cake, birthday cake, and chocolate cake. Those are the cakes that we're selling. Okay, now let's do pies. So let's group all of these now. And then we'll make a copy. And then we'll take this, that right over here. And now these will be the pies. Oops, wrong group. All right, what kind of pie do we want? So we need blueberry pie, blueberry, pumpkin. You always have to have pumpkin pie, even when it's not Thanksgiving. Pumpkin pie, apple, of course, apple pie, and cherry pie, or banana. How about banana? No, coconut cream. Coconut cream. It's a little wider. What do we think? I like it. Do we need more space in between those columns? I think it's okay. And then we can go ahead and we can build additional categories. So let's see what this would look like. Let's just build out all of our categories and let's just come up with our names. I mean, we might as well. And let's make sure that we have different amounts of things. Small, full rounded bordered image somewhere. Okay. Okay, this might be where I get is this going to be where I get overruled on rounded corners? It might be. Yeah, I think the thumbnail works. I think that's a good use of a thumbnail right there. Either under the name or the price would look best. Left is good. If we need to make it fancy, add a dashed type border with a small offset. I have an idea for borders. Well, if you find it, tell me. I'd be happy to look at it. I'm always happy to. I need ideas. So quite frankly, if you have an idea for something that you think I should do, I would love to see it. So yeah, it should fit the full width. Having the price float alone looks weird. And the alt tag. Yep. We'll make sure everything has an alt tag. I like this. I have some ideas for borders. Here's the other thing that I was thinking. This is a little boring, right? Let's go actually look at this. So here's our actual site. Just having these things center aligned inside this box, we do need to do something here to this box. It needs a border, it needs something. It needs a little zhuzh. It needs a little something. And I think that maybe now is a good time to think about what that might be. I mean, we're in this design tool, so why not? Let's just grab our tool. So we want a transparent fill, and then the stroke, I'm going to grab this color as the stroke. And let's draw something in here. And we'll make it 2 pixels. And we need to make sure that it is, here's our modules. Here's the coffees. Right here. Why can't I see you? There we go. Dashed. So here's a dashed style. It doesn't really look like a dashed, does it? That's not the kind of dashed. What if we put a border on the outside that was maroon with some opacity? So maybe the border is like 5 pixels. Maybe it's like more like 10. But it has some opacity. Can't really see that. That frames it a little bit. What if it was... So the module is this color right here. What if this border was that color? And we have to make sure that it's on the inside. So the alignment should be right there. Yeah. What about something like that? This is very similar to the Italia border that we did. Right here, where these photos all had this border with opacity, which I really like. And Monique is saying no to the dashes. Yes. Yeah, agreed. No to the dashes. We don't love that. What about something like that? I think that helps. Let's see here. I like that. It is subtle. One moment. Hold, please. Okay. I like that a lot. So here's another thing I was thinking about. Oh, and this is a little off alignment. So here's our snacks. There we go. Here's our events. There we go. Yeah, I encourage everybody to spend a little time with your design tools. Just play around. It's a nice change of pace sometimes if you are, maybe you're frustrated with the coding project. This is just a different type of creativity that I think it's a good exercise. Okay, so I'm kind of thinking about these things right here. I just really don't like this center justified. So let's align these to the left. Maybe right about there. And then maybe we could do something where we're already kind of doing it in our footer right here, right? Where we have a border in between each item. So let's do that. So let's do, how do you just do a line? I think you have to use the pen tool. So we'll use the pen tool. We'll go right here. Then I hold down the shift key so I get a nice straight line, and we'll go there. And then there's no fill, but there is a stroke, and it's like 10 pixels because that's what we just did. And I do like this color, but it doesn't need to be 10 pixels. We're not going to get the kind of dashes that we like or the dots that we get with CSS. Which is unfortunate, but it'll give us an idea. And then I think these things need a little more space. So the cafe latte is last. In fact, let's just take one of these out. And then let's take this and move it down a little bit. And then let's take all of these and space them out a little bit more. And then we have, where's our straight line? It's right here. So let's put this right here and we'll make a copy. Put it right there, make a copy, put it right there, make a copy, make a copy. Now I think we can take all of these just like this. Okay. So in Photoshop, that would have done everything in the correct order. It didn't do that here, so I have to do it myself. Put it right there. There. Oh. Oh, that's why. It's because, see, Photoshop would automatically arrange these based on my layers. Affinity Photo doesn't do that, which is kind of annoying. So here's Cafe Americano. Here's this curve. All right, you're going to make me do this. Cafe au lait. Here's this curve. Okay. Here's this curve. That's in the right place. And this one goes down here. All right. Are you going to arrange automatically? There we go. And then let's make sure that they are lined up a little bit more. Now I want to take just the titles and move them in a little bit. So I hold down the Command key and I just highlight the titles, and then I can deselect. And then I can just take these and move these in a little bit, just like that. Just not sure what to do with these. Okay, stop. I mean, I don't know. Are they just going to have to be... Is everything just going to have to be centered? Maybe that doesn't look too bad. That might look okay. Maybe the lines just need to be a little not quite as wide. Oops. That actually doesn't look too bad. It makes the center alignment look more intentional to add the borders in between. We can also give those borders some opacity, although we did sort of learn that that doesn't work as well in CSS. This looks more intentional than just having a list of center aligned items, doesn't it? I like it. So we'll add a border to these modules on the home page, and then we'll just put a border in between each of these items. How did we, I think we did list items for these, right? Yep. So super easy to put a border in between. Yeah, I think that makes it look a lot more intentional. I also like how our menu looks. So that means tonight, that means my homework tonight is I need to go out and do some image sourcing. Although we could just, no, you guys don't want to see me. You don't want to see me look through images on Unsplash, but I promise you Unsplash will have all of these images for free. Okay, let's make this a, well, do we need to do anything more? This is kind of our layout. So whatever we have, we have. We know what our categories are. It's just a matter of determining how many things are in each category. I will probably have ChatGPT write some content for me and come up with some titles. Might as well, right? I don't want this to have lorem ipsum. I do want it to have nice pictures as examples. And then we'll just build out some columns. So CSS wise, this would just be CSS grid, right? Yeah. I think so. Silence for 24 hours says hi. And what is this software? Is it Figma? It is Affinity Photo. And I am using an older version of Affinity. Affinity Photo it changed. So right now, Affinity by Canva is a free suite. I think it's a very good Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign competitor. I'm using the old version. They've updated it since then, but this is completely free. So if you're looking for a design tool, Yeah, this is just the one that I happen to use because it is so similar to Photoshop. That's why I really like it. So, um, so there. So that's that. Okay, let's go ahead and save this. Let's go ahead and save this in our design files. And then we have a little bit of time left. Let's work on implementing this on the home page. The other thing that I would really like to do on, well, we need to fix our navigation. I've got some errors in the navigation, the links, so we'll fix that. And then on the contact page, I would like this form to be a little narrower, so we'll fix that as well. Yeah, that didn't turn out to be so hard, did it? So let's go ahead and save. And then let's export this into our design files. I'm going to save I guess I'm going to save a PDF. And I'm going to save this for, I'm going to do PDF flatten. We'll export this. Projects. Coffee. Designs. And this is our menu. So we've got the Affinity Photo version for people who use Affinity Photo. And then we've got the PDF version for people. So those will be included in part of the design files in the Git repository. Excellent. Very happy with this. Very happy with this. Okay. Okay, I don't have any of my other files open, so let's do that now. Projects. And here's our local, here's the GitHub page, and I think we can close all of these. All right, so I think the first thing that I want to do here is we need to fix the URLs on the inner pages. So our inner pages are about, contact, and menu. And it's this link right here that we need to fix. So this is a slash is looking for the root directory of the URL. I was going to say the project, but it's really the root of the URL. I needed to look for the root of the current directory. So it needs to be dot slash. And then we'll do that here. Same for the contact page. And then same for the about page. Okay, so that fixes that. And then on our contact page, I think we can test this. So if go to the about page, and yes, that works. If we go to the menu page, that works. And if we go to the contact page, that also works. So, okay, so on the contact page, well, I changed the width for the inner pages to 75 rems, which is 1200 pixels. But for the contact page specifically, I would like this to be narrower. I think 50 or 55 rems is more appropriate for the form, but I still want it to be 75 rems. Well, 75 for the about page, maybe 1600 for the menu page. I'm not sure yet. Let's play it by ear. So the best way to do this is I'm going to do, if the wrap has a form, we're going to change the width of the wrap. So let's go to our CSS file. Let's find the form. So here's our contact form. And then I'm going to do dot wrap has dot form. We're going to change the width, the max width, to 50 rems. Maybe 55. Yes, I like that a lot better. What do we think? It's okay to change the width of the page based on what it is that you have going on. So all right. So that's that. And then let's work on our home page. And Rahul is asking me, did I test out the dynamic code? I haven't tested it yet. I have to pull it down into my local, I need to pull it down locally before I do the pull request. And I'm also trying to decide how I'm going to, I was originally thinking that and so Rahul is asking me about dynamic JavaScript that he wrote for responsive video gallery for the last project that we did. I was originally, so I've made the decision that I want the core project to all be static and not dynamic. Rahul did a dynamic version, which looked great. I looked at it, it looked great, but I'm thinking about how I want to include that as an option for the open source version. And I need to make pages that are different from the actual launched part of the site, responsivevideogallery.com. And I want to include the dynamic JavaScript in the pages that I make. I just haven't gotten to it. So sometime this week, I will have a dynamic branch, and I will have a separate set of pages specific to the dynamic JavaScript. I was also thinking about putting it on NPM. I mean, why not? It doesn't cost anything to put it on NPM, but I just haven't gotten to it yet. So, but thank you for doing that. I do really appreciate that. I think it's a good thing to include, especially in the open source version, especially when it's an open source contribution. I think it's a good thing to include. I'm just sorting out in my own mind how I'm going to separate all of these things out as part of the project. And I just haven't gotten to it yet. So, but I looked at it. I did look at it. I have other pull requests for other projects that I haven't gotten to yet, and I need to get caught up on that this week. So I haven't forgotten, I promise. Okay. So we have this class called Cafe List. So let's go ahead and add our borders, Cafe List, right here. We've also got the event list. I don't want to do this on the event list. I only want to do it on the cafe list. Do we have this anyplace else? No. So let's just do this here. We'll say cafe list. And cafe list is the UL, so we actually want to target the LI. I'm going to say border, bottom, 3 pixels, dotted, and then we'll do our light gray. I like it. I like it. So let's space that out a little bit. I think we can just do So we'll say padding 0.25 rems on the top and bottom. And then we'll say margin 0.25 rems on the top and bottom. I think that'll give us the space that we need. Yes, I like that. It also, because it makes it longer, it pulls it in a little bit, which makes the center alignment not look so weird to me. And I like that. I also like the subtlety of this border. Let's take off the last one. So cafe list LI, last of type. You could do last child. I tend to do last of type. We'll say border, bottom, none. I like it. And now let's put a border around the edge of all of these. And then maybe we can fill out our events a little bit. Let's add 2 more events. So here's our event list and our cafe list. But really, what is this? This is the article UL. No, this is the article. This is the article. So this is the hero article. So we would put the border here. So border 10 pixels, solid. And I think it's going to have some opacity. Although, what do we think of that? Do we like? I like it. Does that need opacity? So here's the background color for RGBA. We could just do this. If we don't want to do, if we do want some opacity, we could just say RGBA. Well, no, wait a second. There. So there's with a little opacity. Maybe we can bump this up a little bit. I like that too. Let's keep it more subtle. And then let's add a couple more events here. So here's our event list. What other events are we going to have? Let's add 2 more events. So maybe on June 25th, what else? Book club. So we've got open mic night, piano bar, book club. What else? What else is there? What do people do? I don't even know. Coffee love. How about coffee lovers unite? And then June 30th. Bring your dogs. There we go. Love it. And then Rahul says, why not list item not last of type? Yeah, I think you could do both. That's a good point. So instead of having 2, we could do list item not. Oh, and we would also want to include the padding and margin too, not. Last of type. Yeah, that works. Old habits. That's why. Old habits. Let's see that color with no opacity. So we could just do that's with no opacity. Oh, this is so good, Monique. You know what I was actually thinking? What if it was slam poetry? Do people know what slam poetry is? This was a thing in like, what, the 70s, 80s, maybe 90s? Slam poetry. So slam poetry is a competitive, high-energy art form of spoken word poetry performed for a live audience. What do we think about slam poetry? I think we have to have a slam poetry night. Hey, maybe instead of coffee lovers, we do tea lovers unite, since the title is coffee but no tea. So maybe we have a tea lovers unite because we're rebellious. Slam poetry. Yep. Monique knows what slam poetry is. So it's a thing. Slam poetry is a thing. So you like the opacity? I think I like a little bit of a little bit. It's just a tiny bit more subtle. I love it. I love it. Okay, and then what else did I want to do here? So let's kind of get our menu pages and our about page prepped here for tomorrow. So here's the home page. Let's look at our menu page. So right now, well, let's look at the, actually, let's look at the contact page so we can remind ourselves how we made that header. So it was a wrap with a description, just like this. So on the menu page, we want to do the same thing. And then this is the menu. There we go. And then let's do the same thing for the about page. We'll say about us. And then, so we've got about, contact menu. So I think that about, menu, contact. Okay, now let's make sure. So I'm going to do something else, which is I like this kind of creamy gray background here. Yeah, I want the pages, I think, to have this background color. Instead of white, I want it to have this light gray. I like it. Let's make sure that we have, what else did we do on the contact page? So we have a section with a wrap and a heading. So I'm just going to copy this and we're going to take out the form, but I just want the structure. So we'll start with menu. So here's our hero. We don't need the form. And then this would be, so this would be so the H1 is menu, and then we would have H2s for cake, pie, etc. And then H3s would be the individual names. So we'll start with cakes right here. And again, this is just our structure. All right, so that's a good start to that. And then let's do the same thing for our about page. Here's the about page. So here's the hero. And then we'll take out the form. And then this would be, so if this says, the H1 says about us, we could say something like, we're located in St. Paul, Minnesota. So this gives us a good start now on these inner pages. And I am thinking about making the background this creamy color. We'll see. We'll see. Okay. And Rahul's in Nepal, so it's a good 12-hour difference right there. Stayed up for the live stream. I definitely appreciate that. I love having you here. Okay. So maybe we can flush this out a little bit. We've got time. Well, should we probably, maybe what we should do is let's do some QA. Let's do a little bit of QA. Let's get everything pushed up to GitHub. Let's make sure that everything gets deployed. Let's check mobile and let's check some other browsers, which I've been pretty bad about lately. So okay, close these, and we'll just get status, get add, design for menu page, fixing main nav. Whoops. Git commit design for menu page fixing main nav. Git push origin main. See how deployment is going today on GitHub. And give me one moment. I'm gonna get my phone hooked up here. Let's see here. There we go. Okay, so our changes were deployed. Yeah, I guess this is an improvement. It's very subtle on mobile. You can see it on the screen. It's pretty subtle, but I definitely think it's an improvement. I like it. Let's make sure our navigation is working. Yes. Yes. And there's our contact form. I would really encourage people, especially if you're new, make a website from scratch without any kind of templating. Oh yeah, Rahul is saying the logo is kind of blended into the background. Any fix? I did sort of notice that too. It has some box shadow. You know what I was actually thinking about doing on mobile is I was thinking about doing an on-scroll sticky header and adding a background to we could, you know what we could do is even if we didn't do we could do a sticky header on mobile and put in a background. I mean, we could just do that, right? I don't think we need to do it for desktop. I think on desktop we're well, not for those images. Although we could just shift the image. Why don't we just shift the image on desktop? Let's make a QA list. Let's start to make a QA list now that we're noticing things. Let's do this. QA.md. Here's QA. So on desktop, move the hero image down. There's plenty of room to do that. So on mobile, either move the image down or add a background, possibly sticky with transparency. Yeah, that's a good idea. Why is shifting the image a temporary fix? I don't think shifting the image is a temporary fix. I think it's totally appropriate to shift an image, especially if it's supported on desktop and mobile. That's my opinion. So I don't think it's temporary. I think it's totally normal to shift around images on specific pages for specific focal points. That's my experience, is we did that all the time at St. Thomas on specific pages. We had to shift images around that content creators or departments or whomever really, really wanted to use that didn't quite work. So we just had to move them around a little bit till they did work. So in my experience, that's pretty normal. Especially since that image is really dark at the top and we've got room, because this container is only as big as the content that is inside the container, since we took that aspect ratio off. So that image has a lot of room. So right now the rendered size is 16 by 84, 1684 by 479, but we've got this huge intrinsic size. So object fit cover, object position, we could say, well, if we do, we could say center top. We could just do that. So, and then it will always look like the home page. So let's see here. So object position, center X, top Y. So if, because we take out the aspect ratio for any inner page, which means it's only going to be as tall as the content that's in it. Yeah. That's fair. You know, that's totally a fair statement. Your employers would ask you to take care of it no matter the situation. Before I worked at the University of St. Thomas, I had I would say the exact same thing, except that once I had the experience of working in a huge enterprise level content management system with dozens of content creators, and the number of times my boss came to me and said, yeah, actually, the department so and so wants to use this image and we have to like tweak this particular page to support this particular image, that just became normal to me. You have to acquiesce sometimes to individual content creators or site owners. So, and I think that that's okay. It's acceptable. I don't think that's the end of the world to do that. So, the image, so I would overlay the image either on a darker background. That's totally fair. So, I mean, I guess I just make my decisions based on my own experience. I've loosened up a little bit over the years. And I've come to expect that sometimes you're going to make changes to specific pages based on specific situations or for specific images. You cannot solve every single problem with code. You cannot account for every single situation. So even if I did put in a background to account for that, I promise you there is a content creator out there. And by content creator, I mean somebody who's in charge of like entering the content into a website who is not a developer, who will find a way to break my layout in a way that I never imagined. So I've just loosened up over the years, and I will adjust things to fit a design. So that's just my experience. And yeah, there is some, I mean, we could do a sticky on scroll header. We could, because that menu also does. Let me think about it. I'm going to think about it. You're right. I know you're right. Okay. So that aside, what else do we think? What else do we think? Oh, I know what I was saying. I wanted to talk about the fact that there might be people watching right now who are like, this is ridiculous. You should be doing some sort of templating. You should be doing some sort of like framework to avoid having these individual pages, these individual sets of navigation where you have to check, you have 4 pages, you have 4 sets of navigation. Why would you do that? We have modern tools. Well, here's one reason why I would suggest that you build at least one project like this, because this is how the internet works. It's a good reminder for understanding how things work, how the internet works. Setting up each of your pages to support a specific set of navigation to remember how to, let's see here, where is our, to remember how to even get your navigation to show up correctly to do an active class. I would suggest if you're a new developer or if you've been in framework land for most of your career, just try making one project like this with individual pages. It's just a good reminder for how things work. It's a good refresher for structure, in my opinion. So, okay, I'm gonna, if your channel requires dynamic development using React, I'm not sure. I think you might be finishing that thought. If your channel requires dynamic development using React, I would help you. I don't know if I don't have a desire at this point in my career. I know how to use Angular. I'm pretty handy with Vue. I've never used React. I just don't know if I'm going to go there at this point in my career. Nobody's asked me to do a React project. I haven't been asked to work on any React projects. It's the only reason I haven't learned it. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know if I feel like I need to do it at this point. So I'm happy. I know that just makes me sound like I'm old and I don't want to learn new things. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how things go. Okay, well, let's just check a couple other browsers really quick. So I think things are looking really good on mobile. Yes, we need to address the issue with the header and the logo. All right, I think this is looking good on Firefox. Our inner pages are set up and ready to go. Let's look at Safari. Whoops, what's happening here? Why can't you just zoom Safari? Yep, I think Safari is looking pretty good. Here's our contact page. And then let's look at Safari on mobile also. One moment here. Oh yeah. So here's Safari on mobile. Yeah. We should probably also make sure that the logo is linked back to the home page. Okay. And I'm going to do one more push. Okay. right. So, oh, sorry, you guys didn't see that. Well, I just pushed everything up. Okay. So tomorrow we're going to go ahead and build out the menu page, which means tonight I'm going to do some image sourcing. I'm going to ask ChatGPT to write me a little bit of content. I think it's totally acceptable to do that in this case. And then, what was I going to say? So then I think this week on Tuesday and Thursday, we'll do the about page, which is not going to be complex at all. I would like to put in a vertical video iframe. So I asked ChatGPT if YouTube Shorts or Vimeo vertical video could be embedded with an iframe, because YouTube Shorts specifically doesn't have an embed feature, and ChatGPT told me I could do that and said I could also do vertical video as an embed iframe with Vimeo. So let's make just a nice about page with a vertical video and a little bit of content talking about our bakery. And then let's have a deployment day this week. So I would like to deploy this as a subdomain to the practice layouts domain that we set up a couple of weeks ago. And it will just be coffee.practicelayouts.com. And I'm still working on a design and a strategy for practicelayouts.com. Haven't quite gotten there yet. So we're going to go ahead and add this to the list. I'm also thinking that for our future projects, because I tend to do a lot of one-page projects, I'm thinking for future projects about making more sort of actual websites, right, that have other additional pages, because I really enjoyed this. I enjoyed making something other than a landing page. Yeah, and I liked making a contact form as well. So, and I'm going to think about this header issue overnight. I know you're right. You're right. I know you're right. Why do I feel so stubborn? I do. I feel stubborn. Why do I feel so stubborn? I just do. I don't know why. Yeah, so that's that. Okay. Everybody, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you to the mods. Rahul, Malik, Monique, thank you so much for hanging out with me. We had a few extra people here today. It was a quiet day in the chat. It was mostly a mod day in the chat, which is perfectly fine. We had Main Isaac was here. Mania, I think that's Mania Isaac was here. Who else was here? Silence 24 was here. I know there was somebody else. Let me see. And Maz Khan was also here. So thank you to everybody who joined. Do me a favor. If you haven't liked the video yet, go ahead and like it. It helps the algorithm, helps push this type of content out to more people who might enjoy it. Subscribe if you haven't yet. I would love to have you. I'm stream 4 days a week, Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. I'm a front-end developer with about 12 and a half years of experience. I've done freelancing, contracting. My last job was for a large private university. I've done a lot of agency work, so I've run the gamut in terms of the type of work that I've done. I love to share my experiences. I get a lot of people asking about freelancing, and I love to share that experience. I like talking about my own experiences because I feel like I had some wild experiences, but I also had some like really good positive experiences too. So thank you, Malik. Good work as usual. I appreciate that. Yeah, so come back tomorrow, hang out with me. We'll work on this menu page, and I think we're going to get this thing wrapped up this week, probably on Thursday. We'll do the about page on Tuesday, and then we'll have a deployment day on Thursday, and then we're going to start working on our next project, which is called Scenic. It's another design of mine from I think 2014 or 2015 that I discovered, and I would like to build that one out as well. So, okay, everyone, have a great rest of your day wherever you are, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.